I also want to acknowledge that I have been a steadfast participant in this diet culture through my platforms, through the magazine, through the talk show for 25 years, through online. I've been a major contributor to it.
Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we are going to be talking about the Oprah special that just happened a few days ago. I have been asked to talk about this quite a bit. We are going to be talking mostly about the first less than 20 minutes of this 3-hour special. And so I'm curious if you guys do want me to go over the entire thing. Maybe I can do that in some live streams or something. Because if I tried to go over the whole 3 hours, that would be a 6-hour video, and that's a little insane. And it's probably not necessary, but I think it'd be fine to do on a live stream. So if you want me to do that, please feel free to let me know. But we're going to be going over the very kind of beginning parts of this video. The reason being is I feel like this part is very interesting, because when we talked about the last Oprah kind of video that she did, we talked about how it's interesting because Oprah herself has probably participated quite a bit in a lot of women's and men's kind of diet culture. You know, they're like how they got introduced to diet culture. Oprah was a big part of that. And she has kind of admits it basically in this video and in this segment. And I think it's very interesting because obviously, as you can see, this is in partnership basically with Weight Watchers. This is on the Weight Watchers YouTube channel, which again, I think is very interesting because for a long time, they were really trying to get away from Weight Watchers and trying to be WW. This whole thing is very interesting. So if you're not familiar with what these live streams have been and these things have been, Oprah has become quite the proponent of, you know, Ozempics, Wegovy's, all of the weight loss medications. And that's all well and fine. But again, it's been very interesting because of her past, right? She has struggled with her weight. She has been very vocal about Weight Watchers, which is its whole own other thing, right? Where a lot of people say that's diet culture. It's just, there's a lot. And some of the stuff that I guess she admits to, but also the information that she shares and the experiences that she shares, I think are very interesting, and one that obviously only Oprah has had. And so I'm going to stop yapping and let's get into the beginning part of this 3-hour special.
For most of our lives, we have been told what to believe about our bodies.
You had to be a certain size to be a part of the popular group.
That being a Latina with a big butt and chest was not beautiful.
That was the first time that I had ever
I mean, not anymore.
become so aware of the space that I was taking up.
We've been shamed by a standard. We were taught that our weight represented our worth.
It tells me that something is wrong with me and that I'm not healthy.
I was a bigger kid, always one of the biggest in my class, and I never spoke about it to anyone.
I've never really felt comfortable in my own skin.
Well, we're hoping that...
And all of those things are things I can relate to, right? There is a lot of good conversation here. And so it's not like I'm trying to film this to be like, everything is wrong and I hate everything that Oprah's doing. But there's nuance, right? But a lot of the stuff that they're talking about, these experiences that people have had, obviously I can relate to that, right? I know exactly how that feels.
ends today.
This is what I believe, that we have reached a pivotal moment in the way we talk about and the way we think about our bodies. Do you all feel that? I mean, there are just so many articles about it, so much tick and talking going on about it. I actually don't.
I definitely agree with that. Where we are now when it comes to conversations about weight and the sheer amount of conversations that are happening now and the diversity of those conversations is very interesting. And I think for overall, it's a good thing. Now, just because overall it's a good thing doesn't mean that there aren't bad apples and bad stuff that's happening in there. But the fact that we are talking about it more, I think, is a net positive instead of just shaming people and trying to make them change, right? The more conversation that happens, I think the more maybe hopefully people will understand. And so I think all in all, I would agree with that statement.
Remember a time when the collective conversation has been at this volume level. In fact, this is actually the biggest audience response for people wanting to participate in this virtual audience that we've ever had. And there are perspectives coming from all sides. And I'm on a mission to help convene and help us to keep talking about it all, regardless of what side you're on, because we're grown people. We should be able to have the discussion like grown people and not just aging people. Maya used to always say to me, baby, you want to be not just an aging female, but you want to be a real grown up woman. So as real grown-up people tonight, we have this discussion, not just about the science, but how some of the breakthroughs have led us to an incredible opportunity to begin to understand the impact of everything that so many of us have internalized about diet culture and the body standards that have caused us so much shame. So I know we've been criticized, we've been scrutinized, we've been shamed, and we've been told that unless we meet a certain standard of size, that we didn't deserve to be accepted or even to be loved. And what I know for sure is that I am done with it. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I'm done with the shaming. I'm done with it. And the purpose of this conversation is to help you be done with it, to get over it for yourself and to stop doing it to other people. Stop judging others for the way they choose to live.
I think that, yeah, I mean, all of this stuff is kind of, I mean, to be honest, is a little bit of fluff. I don't think there's really much to be said right here, but I think what's coming up is the really interesting stuff that I feel like is worth speaking on.
So I think the way to get past the shame is to start looking at someone, everyone, and say, this person is doing the best they know how in any given moment for themselves. Everybody is just doing the best they can. And if they are happy with the choices that they are making, you ought to be happy with it too. That's where I've gotten to. I'm happy with the choices that you choose to make, and I'm happy with the choices that I've been able to make with myself. And as grown people, we should be able to live in a world and allow that for each other. I also want to acknowledge that I have been a steadfast participant in this diet culture through my platforms, through the magazine, through the talk show for 25 years, through online. I've been a major contributor to it.
This is so important, and I'm glad that there's at least acknowledgement here, because this is so unbelievably true. I think a lot of the stuff that Oprah has went through is obviously terrible, which she'll get into. But regardless of that, because, like, yes, bad things can happen to someone, but I feel like how we respond to it tells a lot. And the way that Oprah and her team, obviously it's not, I'm sure, it's not like Oprah's making all the decisions, and her team responded was so damaging for a lot of people. And I don't really fault like Oprah as a person. Obviously I don't know her, but I think that there is so much bad that was done under the guise of quote unquote good. And especially, like, I don't know, like I have, and maybe if you've had a good experience with them, maybe I'm wrong here, but like I have such a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to Weight Watchers. I just do. It's like one of the most classic, like, it's just the amount of damage that people I've spoken to, people that have had like just terrible experiences. I don't understand why she is so focused on trying to work with them. I'm assuming money has a role in it, right? She used to be like not part owner, but I think she invested a lot. Now she isn't anymore. That's a whole other thing. But I don't know. I don't really love them. I think they get into that later. Again, we can go over that in the live stream if you guys want. But there was a lot of bad, and I'm very, very glad that she at least acknowledges it.
I cannot tell you how many weight loss shows and makeovers I have done, and they have been a staple since I've been working in television. I've shared how that famous wagon of fat moment on the Oprah show is one of my biggest regrets. It sent a message that starving yourself with a liquid diet set a standard for people watching that I nor anybody else could uphold. And I've said this before. The very next day, that next day, I began to gain the weight back.
Yeah.
And Maya Angelou always said, when you know better, you do better. That's one of my favorite teachings from her. When you know better, you do better. So these conversations, for me, are an effort to do better.
And that's fair. Again, I like that, right? You learn from your mistakes, and it's just like, hopefully this is a positive change and it moves in the right direction instead of maybe just kind of going down a slightly different path, right? It's like a complete course correction instead of like, oh, well, okay, well, maybe we'll go down this way because there seems to be maybe some money here. Again, that's just me being cynical, I guess.
What I've done, and I now want to do better. So I know now that wagon of fat moment was set into motion after years and years of thinking that my struggle with my weight was my fault. And it has taken me even up until last week to process the shame that I felt privately as my very public yo-yo diet moment became a national joke. So many of you who followed me over the
Yeah, and like, again, I can't even imagine. I always talk about, like, you know, influencers that try and lose weight on, you know, online, how it can be annoying to deal with people. I can't even imagine what it's like. Oprah was like the most famous person, right, for a period of time, or like one of the most famous people. She still is incredibly famous, right? Every move, every step being analyzed. I cannot even imagine what that is like. So I'm not sitting here saying I know how she felt, but I can empathize with every pound lost or gained. It is a headline. Like, I cannot even fathom what that would feel like. And so there is a level of grace there that I'm like, I can understand wanting to please these random tabloids and being like, I lost weight regardless of how you do it, right? I can understand that.
Years may remember this. One of the moments that has stuck with me for over 30 years was when I was first invited to appear on The Tonight Show. Remember when The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson? Remember that curtain? And I remember, oh my God, when I got the call in the office, you're going to be on The Tonight Show. It was 1985. And the very first time I was on, it was hosted by Joan Rivers, who was sitting in for Johnny Carson that night. And I was so excited. I mean, my God, I went out, I bought this suede dress with the little glitters on it. I bought my first pair of Stuart Weitzman shoes. Oh, and you know, when I bought those shoes, they were like rhinestone shoes. And I was thinking, Joan's going to ask me about my shoes. She didn't. What actually happened was that in the middle of the interview, so first of all, when you're doing any of those shows, Tonight Show or any of the shows, the producers do a pre-interview with you first, so you have an idea, you certainly know what they're going to cover.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that. I remember when I went on Ellen, like, everything that was going to be asked was asked to me before, and it was like, they basically were like, this is how the interview's going to go, just so you know, right? And so I know exactly what that's like. So basically, I'm Oprah.
So I'm sitting there, and we'd almost finished the interview. Joan had not asked me about my rhinestone shoes, and I crossed my legs so she could actually see them, and I was doing that with my foot. And Joan turned to me, and she said, so how'd you gain the weight? This is my first national appearance. And she said, so how'd you gain the weight? And I was caught completely off guard, and all I could hear was, I think she just called me fat. She just called me fat. That's all I could hear. And when I went back and looked at it on YouTube, which you can do, she actually didn't use the word fat, but all I heard was, she's called me fat, she's called me fat. So I didn't know what to say, so I just said, I ate a lot, Joan, I ate a lot. And then
So that is, I truly can't even imagine that happening. Like, I know exactly, like, how I respond to that kind of feeling. I know I would have gotten hot. I would have started sweating. I would have felt, I imagine that happening to you, right? So, of course, I had to go and look up this video on YouTube. Joan Rivers tells Oprah to lose weight, 1985 interview.
But you went into beauty contest. They told me you were a beauty contest winner.
Yeah, I was 50 pounds ago or so.
Yeah, but, so, what'd you win?
Well, I won the Miss Fire Prevention contest. Was that a who?
Miss what?
Fire Prevention.
So how'd you gain the weight?
I ate a lot.
No. You said 50 pounds. You shouldn't let that happen to you. You're very pretty.
You know what?
No, I don't want to hear.
Bro, that is like, I understand it's a different time. It was 1985, but dude, without knowing that's going to happen, that is mortifying. I can't even imagine what that must have felt like.
Tell you this. Let me tell you something. Pretty girl and you're single. You must lose the weight.
I'm going to. You know what? We are now AM Chicago. In Chicago, we're starting a diet with Oprah.
Great.
Yes. In conjunction with the Tribune, so that I have been put under pressure to finally do it.
Now, I am trying to lose 5 pounds. Will you
such a teeny
will you
tiny
come
little
back
thing.
with me in March when I'm back, and you lose 15, I'll lose 5?
Listen.
That's the only way I'll do it. I'll keep thinking
I'll
that
lose
bitch
30.
is losing, and I'm not.
So she says, I'll lose 30 right there, right? Interesting.
Furious. I'll do it if you do it.
You will?
Yeah.
It's a deal.
It's a deal. It's a deal. 5?
Okay, so she's saying that she wants to lose 5 pounds, which, I mean, if you're looking at her, she probably doesn't need to lose any weight. But that's the moment that Oprah says is kind of like the start of her wanting to go on these diets. Very interesting. I'm glad that she brought it up because it was interesting to see this and see what actually happened.
Because I thought she would end it, and she did not. She then wagged her finger in my face, and she said, no, I don't want to hear it. You're a pretty girl, and you must lose the weight. This was on national television. I was so embarrassed, and I said, okay, I will. And she said, I'm going to lose 5 pounds. And I thought, well, we're not going to be able to see you if you do. But
True.
She said, I'm going to lose 5 pounds, and you promise me you'll lose 15 pounds, and if you lose 15 pounds, you can come back. So all I was thinking was, okay, I can come back if I lose 15 pounds. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I left there and gained 25 pounds, okay? And that was the start of a vicious cycle of yo-yoing that ended up with that liquid diet where I literally starved myself for months. And the result was that now famous wagon of fat moment. So I'm sharing that with you. You can go to YouTube and see it. Because at the time, I mean, even until last week, somebody brought it up and they said, oh, you must have been so angry. And I will tell you all, it had never occurred to me to be angry because I thought I deserved it. I thought her saying that to me, I deserved it. So my shame story happened to be on national television. And I know that for many of you, yours might be similar to some of the brave people that we just saw in the video, or going to a parent-teacher meeting, or the grocery store, or the beach, or simply walking in the door and feeling embarrassed, or having to get in the pool with your daughter.
So she kind of brings up all the different shame things that people deal with. That's the bulk of what I wanted to show, was just her kind of talking about her experience with diet culture and then her basically admitting to her part in it. I think it's very interesting. And this is when we talk about shame, that's why I get kind of frustrated when people are like, oh, shame works. I think there's a difference between you feeling ashamed of things that you've done, knowing that, hey, I've made decisions that I really shouldn't have, right? There are things that I've done that I know were not the best and I just did it out of ease or because I wanted to. I think that's different than someone trying to just tell you, hey, you're fat, lose weight. You're disgusting. I'm disgusted by you. I never want to be around you. I think that kind of shame, in my opinion, for the vast majority of people, does not work. When it comes to losing weight, I think if it's something that you want to do, it has to be something that you want to do, right? Like, no one is going to lose the weight and like really keep it off if it's something that they're doing because someone else is telling them to, or they feel like they have to because of someone else. Like, it just doesn't work. Because of how long it takes and all of the ups and downs that you have to go through, it has to be something that you truly want to do for yourself and that you will see through. And you will be able to, when you deal with those setbacks and stuff like that, you're able to look at yourself and reflect and understand, why did I do that? What do I need to change to make that not happen? Instead of just being like, I'm disgusting. I understand that kind of thinking. I feel like a lot of times people will think, oh, well, I thought I was disgusting and that's what got me to change. But I truly believe if you are going to go through the pain and the struggles and the hardships of losing weight, there is a level of self-care there. There is a level of, I care enough about my life, myself, the life I want to have to go down this road. Because if you truly didn't care, why would you put in the effort? That's just how I feel. But I thought this was incredibly interesting, her kind of sharing her opinions and basically admitting to the fact that she was a part of diet culture. I am curious what y'all think about the whole Weight Watchers and Oprah collaboration, but not. I'm genuinely very curious what y'all think. So let me know down in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.